Okay, clase, hablemos sobre el pretérito, the preterite tense. What is the preterite tense used to talk about? The preterite tense is used to describe events and actions that took place, began, ended, or were completed at a specific time in the past. I'm being that specific when I talk about the reasons or why the preterite is used because it is not the only past tense in Spanish. Eventually, we will learn about another past tense in Spanish, and you'll have to decide when to use which one. And therefore, I'm being very specific on the reasons why the preterite is used so that your job is easier to decide later on. To conjugate a verb in the preterite tense is much like the present tense. The first thing you have to do is take off the infinitive ending, which, as you know, is the AR, ER, or IR. And then you add the appropriate ending for the subject that you are conjugating the verb for. It's the same thing we do for the present tense, it's just going to have different endings. But first, let's review. In your notes, I would like you to write down what our English subjects are. Sadly, some of our classmates and some of us still don't know which subjects live in which boxes of our conjugation chart. So, please nicely and neatly fill in your subject pronoun chart for English, and then write down the Spanish equivalents here. How do you say I in Spanish? Yo. You is tú with an accent. He and she, él and ella. You formal, usted, which can be written out or abbreviated. And if you want to say it in Spanish, you really don't say anything. You just take the subject out because, as you know, in Spanish, you can take the subject out. Nosotros or nosotras means we. Vosotros, or the feminine form, means you guys, and they typically only use that in Spain. And ellos and ellas are they, and ustedes, and abbreviated UDS, ustedes, means you guys. Again, these are things that you should know, but it doesn't hurt to review. These subjects live in these specific boxes, and this is what these words mean. Ellos and ellas means they. Ustedes means you guys. I say that you can remember the difference because ustedes, usted, and tú all have you in them, the letter U, and they all mean you. You guys, you formal, or you. Okay, let's move on. That's review. Now let's learn our preterite tense ending. So if I want to conjugate a verb that ends in AR, I'm going to now, if I want to say that I did something in the past, it's going to end in A, which is spelled with the letter E with an accent. If I'm going to say you did something in the past, haste is what it will end in. If I want to say he or she did something in the past, O with an accent. The nosotros form is still amos, so the only way to tell the difference between the present and the past will be context. The vosotros is hastes, and the they ending is aron. So if I wanted to conjugate hablar in the preterite, and I want to say I spoke, it would be hablé. You spoke, hablaste. He or she spoke, habló. We spoke, hablamos. You guys spoke in Spain, hablasteis. And they spoke or you guys spoke, hablaron. These are your endings for AR verbs. The way you're going to remember these is just the same way as you learned the present tense. You guys used to say o, as, a, amos, ais, an over and over and over again. So what you need to do to memorize this is say aste, o, amos, astes, aron as much as you can so that you can memorize that and also practice writing it down. All right. Also in these notes, we are going to add, we've already written this, so you do not have to rewrite it. That's why it's in that light gray. It's just for reference. We want to write down our time expressions that are commonly used with the preterite. Yesterday is ayer. That's how you say yesterday in Spanish, and you would often use the preterite tense with it. If you want to say the day before yesterday, it is ante ayer. It still has yesterday in it, and it sort of has the word for before in it. It's before yesterday, so it's the day before yesterday. Last night is anoche. Noche is night. Last night is anoche. This morning is esta mañana. This and these have T's. Mañana, esta mañana. Last. If you want to say last anything, last month, last year, last week, here's how you do it. You will put el or la in front, and then you'll write dia, semana, mes, año, depending on if you're saying day, week, month, or year. and then pasado or pasada so that it matches. We'll practice that together in class. And then one more thing for you to write down in these notes is how to say ago. There are two different ways to set up a sentence if you're saying you did something a certain amount of time ago. The first way is to take the preterite tense of the verb, or the verb phrase, plus the word hace, plus the time expression, period. That's one way to say it. Or, if you want to put the time expression first in Spanish, you would write hace first. I've capitalized it because it's the beginning of your sentence. The time expression plus que plus the preterite verb phrase. I realize this can be confusing and it just sounds like a lot of words right now, but go ahead and write that down and we'll practice with it together in class. Thanks for taking your preterite tense, AR verbs, and time expression notes.